Hey guys, Eddie back with Couch Talk. Welcome back to the show. If it's your first time with me, welcome to the show. Guys, please hit like, please hit subscribe, turn your notifications on, and if you stick with me, I promise I will earn your viewership. I'll do the work, I'll do whatever it takes. Guys, I want to talk about the debt ceiling that we are rapidly approaching. And I want to begin by asking you this question. Why do we have a debt ceiling? Ask yourselves that question. Because if we need it, then we need it for a reason. And if we don't need it, then we shouldn't have it. So that's really there's really no getting around that basic precept. And you got to understand that I believe that we have a debt ceiling for a reason. And the reason that we have it is to keep us from being wasteful. To keep us from just continuing to ignore our debt and continuing to grow it forever. Because right now, that's what it seems like, that's what we're doing. If you go back like 20, 23 years, 20, so roughly, we were at, I believe, $5 trillion in debt. $5 trillion. And even then, I was angry at the size of our debt. Even back then, I was like, man, guys, our debt's out of control. Like, if we don't do something about it, it's going to get to the point where we're paying more in interest than we can even manage. That was 20 years ago, 23 years ago. And then the next administration doubled it, and that was a Republican. And then the next administration after that doubled it again, and that was a Democrat. And then, it's just gone up and up and up and up. And now we're sitting at what, $31.5 trillion. $31.5 trillion. That's a lot of money. That is, and it's like, I feel like the problem is we've grown numb to this. At this point, it's just like, oh, whatever. It's just, it's fake money anyway, right? Fractional reserve banking, quantitative easing, they'll throw these crazy words at you like, that's supposed to mean that all money is fake now and that we just don't have to worry about how we spend it anymore. And that's just not true. Now, I don't believe that we are in any danger of defaulting yet. But that having been said, I almost feel like it might do us some good to default. I really do. Because I kind of want to see what would happen. Because honestly, if nothing happens, then I don't even know why we would ever pay a debt, right? But I don't believe that nothing would happen. I believe what would end up happening is that we just have this mental block that will keep us from defaulting. And so what will happen is whatever burden the government might have is just going to get thrust upon the standard citizen. You, me, we're the ones that are going to have to bear the brunt of this problem. And we already do. We've already learned that basically when the government spends money, that increases the amount of money in circulation, which decreases the value of the dollar bill, which means that basically we have been taxed. We may not know that we've been taxed. It may not be a tax that was passed by a law or Congress, but we have been taxed. The other thing that happens is there's a lot of executive things that take place. A couple of things that we mentioned before that a president does actually have control over are things like Biden stopped the Keystone Pipeline, froze all future permitting for drilling and stuff like that, and that caused gas prices to go up, which caused the price of everything else to go up. The Fed can basically raise rates, which will stagnate the economy. We are looking at an incoming recession. It's almost guaranteed. It's about as close to 100% as you're going to get. There's a lot of reasons for that. But let me before I go into all that, let me just give you the standard disclaimer. I am not your financial consultant. I do financial consulting work. So if you'd like me to be your financial consultant, well, we can talk on a one-on-one basis, and I'll give you a waiver and everything and the standard agreement. But in the meantime, understand that this is not considered your take-home financial advice. If you want that, get with me offline and we'll discuss that. But for right now, understand that we're headed for a recession. That's a safe bet. And when that happens, I would recommend getting more liquidatable assets. I would recommend, probably gold is a good bet over the next year. That would be my personal advice. Take it as you will. Take it not as financial advice unless you talk with me offline, but take it as you will. Now, there's a lot of things that can happen before we default. I don't think that we're in any danger of defaulting because the revenue coming in is greater than the percentage points that we pay on the national debt so far. One of the things that we can do is stuff like the Prevention of Government Shutdown Act, the REINS Act, Full Faith and Credit Act. These are just examples of things that have worked in the past. Federal Government Reduction by Attrition Act. There's a lot of stuff that we can do that basically will just keep everything flowing but won't actually deal with the issue at hand. But the big issue is this. We have a debt ceiling for a reason. It is so that we stop just throwing away the taxpayer money. And we're throwing it away. That omnibus bill that just passed, 2,000 pages, 4,000 pages, 1,700 earmarks of mostly garbage. Like, I think maybe there were 8 things on there that I would have personally put money into. Maybe 10, 15, but the rest of it was just ooh, I want a bridge. Ooh, I want a park. Just throwing stuff in. It was just needless spending. Did you know that in Europe, nearly half, this is in Europe where the governments are big comparatively, right? We're talking 60, 70% taxes, 80, 90 sometimes. And most of them have the kind of fiscal responsibility that I think we should have. Most of them have their balanced budgets. Why can't we balance ours? Is it really so hard? One of the pie charts that, what's his name, Schweikert, puts up in his presentation, you guys should watch some of his presentations because he's one of the few guys that just goes out, tells it like it is. I recommend everybody watch one of his, because he'll tell you, look, this is the math, and the math doesn't lie. It's got nothing to do with Democrat, Republican, it's just the math. And the math is, we're in trouble, we're spending too much. And that's just the math, right? And that's just, that's just how it is. So if you look at his pie chart, one of the big, things is always national defense, right? That's usually about a third of our spending right now. And it's probably about where it should be. Maybe a little bit less, right? They could definitely be more efficient. And then another sixth, maybe fifth of the pie is what they call non-defense discretionary spending, which is basically everything that isn't defense and isn't what I'm about to say, and that is the rest of the pie chart, which is most of it, the plurality, is mandatory spending. And think about that word. They call it mandatory spending because they don't want you to cut it ever, right? That's a big psychological game, is you can't cut Social Security, you can't cut Medicaid, you can't cut Medicare. If you do, you're a demon, right? You're going to hell, right? And that's just how it is, right? They don't want you to ever cut into that. But the thing is, we're not going to get the kind of savings that we truly need to attack the national debt unless we cut some defense budget, we cut some of the mandatory spending budget. We have to. Or the only other way to do it is just raise everybody's taxes by another 15, 20%. And guys, I don't know about you, but I have had it up to here with paying some taxes. I don't think anybody likes taxes, but I don't think that anybody can in their right mind say that we should just raise them again. We already pay a substantial amount. And not only do we pay, I think for most of us, even the middle class, with federal, state, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all that, we're paying pretty close to 40% of our income. And that's not even talking about excise taxes at the gas pump, when we buy cigarettes, things like that, sales taxes, capital gains tax. I mean, I could go on a huge list, but basically everything is taxed. And you're taxed, some things are taxed 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times by the time they get to you. I mean, unemployment, like you name it. And if you're thinking about the amount of your income that's actually taxed, it's probably closer to 60%. Now, we don't have much more room, like there's really not much more you can go. You go up a couple more percent and you're basically out of a paycheck, right? So we've got to put the limit there. We should learn to start cutting some of that pie down. Guys, it's a huge pie. I mean, I think what our revenue this last year was like $4.9 trillion. That's a lot of money. How were we outspending $4.9 trillion? How? How were we outspending this? I've said it a million times. I could do it. I could balance the budget. People might not like how I do it, but I could do it. We need to make cuts. And we need to stop being so reliant on government programs that were never designed to be run federally. We have got to get our mouths off the sippy cup. We've got to. We have got to stop being at the behest of this government that basically is just throwing away money wastefully. Otherwise, you run into the debt ceiling, which is, again, there for a reason. Let me know what you guys think. I think we are spending way too much. I think my taxes are high enough and I do not want to pay more. I think we need to start cutting what we spend. And we need to cut it everywhere. It's not just defense. It's not just Social Security. It's not just Medicare. It's everywhere. We need to make savings a priority. Let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you on Couch Talk.